Welcome to this next episode of So That Reminds Me, Reminder Publishing's bi-weekly podcast discussing Western Mass news. I'm Chris Mazza.
And I'm Tyler Garnett.
And we'll be your hosts for today's episode. In this episode, we'll talk about a few of the interesting topics happening here in Western Massachusetts. But first, Tyler, how we doing? It's been a while.
It has been a while. Things are going pretty good with me. I got no complaints here besides daylight savings.
That's the worst.
Making me want to go to bed by 5:30 because of how dark it is out. But, this is my favorite time of the season. I do like the colder weather, and Thanksgiving's right around the corner, one of my favorite holidays. So I got no complaints here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's worse, daylight savings or the amount of complaining people do about daylight savings.
Yes.
It's like, this isn't a surprise. This happens to us every year.
I know. It's a conversation I have nightly. As soon as it hits 5:30, I go, it's time for bed. It has never hit me like this in years past, but it definitely has, and I just don't remember it.
Well, Thanksgiving, I'd imagine you're going to be heading home for Thanksgiving?
Yes, that is the plan. I actually get lucky this year. I'll have 2 Thanksgivings. We're going to my girlfriend's on Thanksgiving that Thursday, and then Saturday I'll be traveling to see my family with her on Saturday. So I get 2 Thanksgiving meals. I will not be sick of it. I am a huge proponent of every single dish that is served. So what about you?
Thanksgiving is the one holiday that both celebrations for both sides of our family happen on the same day at the same time. No. So we alternate year to year.
Gotcha.
And so the hardest part is remembering which year it is. So, and as far as, Thanksgiving itself, truthfully, I kind of take it for granted. I see my family regularly as it is. The vast majority of them are local. And the football usually stinks.
Yeah. It usually does.
And the food, half of it I don't eat, and the half that I do eat is stuff that I make regularly. I have a smoker, so 2 or 3 times a year I'll smoke a whole turkey myself anyway and make turkey dinners. So it's not a big, thing for me, so not something that I get super excited. I know some people get super excited for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm just like, I had that 3 times already this year.
Yeah.
I actually stock up on the turkeys for our chest freezer so that then I can make them throughout the year on Thanksgiving. So I guess that's the one thing that I do look forward to. One question in New York, do they do the Thanksgiving high school football thing like they do around here?
I'm not really sure.
No.
What is it that they do around here?
They play traditional Thanksgiving Day football games.
Oh, okay.
So there are some rivalries, some games that have gone back 100 years and things like that. It's a big deal around here, and apparently it's pretty much a New England regional thing. So whenever I'm talking with somebody from another, area, I tend to ask the question. I had a friend who was from Texas, and he was like, "No, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard."
Yeah,
and he's from Texas. Football is a religion in Texas.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, we don't have anything set up like that. I don't think in the high school, at least at my high school, or I didn't know of any games going on. Me and my friends would play like a turkey bowl and kind of scrimmage, play 2-hand touch and stuff like that on Thanksgiving. But no, nothing really set up between the high schools or anything like that.
No, yeah, this is like I think now they changed the playoff system in high school for high school football and everything. That kind of disrupted the Thanksgiving thing, so it doesn't have the prevalence that it once did. For a lot of teams, it used to be like their Super Bowl, but. Like Longmeadow and East Longmeadow, I've had a long-standing thing, and they've played on Thanksgiving forever. So it was just one of those, like I said, one of those things that I'm always curious to see if it's just us or if other people do it as well.
Yeah, no, I wish they did, honestly. That would be pretty cool. And maybe they have since I've graduated and moved, but, it would be a cool tradition because, they played in the NFL. Might as well play at the high school level, too. It would be fun for the kids.
All right, now we will take a look at some of the topics for this week's episode. The Hamden DA announced the arrest in a decades-old homicide case. With record rates of need for food assistance, local organizations have received state grants to help. A Holyoke designer created a gown for an Oz historian attending the Wicked premiere. East Longmeadow's town council made a move that could make the purchase of a new town hall more affordable. And the West Springfield Library will once again be the site for the Red Thread Network's Yule Tree Jubilee fundraiser. And we'll get to it after a few short messages.
The holiday season is quickly approaching, and you can bring joy to a child's life with just one small act of kindness. The Salvation Army's Toy for Joy campaign is in full swing, and we are asking you to help make a difference. Your monetary donation will help provide thousands of Western Mass children with a toy and a book, filling their holiday season with joy and imagination. At Toy for Joy, we believe every child deserves to experience the magic of the holidays. Your support can help make this wish a reality. Visit give.salvationarmy.org/toy4joy today and give the gift of joy. Together, we can make this holiday season brighter for every child. Toy for Joy is a partnership between the Salvation Army, Reminder Publishing, and the Republican.
We get it. You're busy, but you want to be connected to your local community. If you're not reading The Reminder, Western Mass's free weekly newspaper, you're missing out on the heartbeat of your town. Stay in the loop with all the latest buzz, from local stories to community updates and exciting events. It's all in The Reminder. Just log on to thereminder.com and dive into the hometown news you love. To subscribe to receive The Reminder at your home, call 413-788-1316. Don't miss a beat. Your town, your stories, your community for over 60 years. The Reminder. We are hometown news.
And we're back for our first topic. Hampden District Attorney Anthony Gallooni announced during a November 13th press conference that an arrest has finally been made for the double homicide that occurred 46 years ago. Former Western Mass resident Thomas Jolie, who was 71, was arrested at his home in Clearwater, Florida on October 30th for the 1978 murders of 18-year-old Teresa Marcoux of East Longmeadow and 20-year-old Mark Harnish of South Dennis. According to Gallooni, a West Springfield police officer found the bodies outside of Harnish's pickup truck in a rest area off Route 5 in West Springfield. Each victim appeared to have been shot multiple times while in the passenger compartment of the truck and moved to the area where they were discovered.
When investigators processed the truck, they found a bloody fingerprint on the passenger side vent window, but investigators were unable to identify anyone from the fingerprint for years, until just recently. In just last month, Gallooni said his office received information from an individual who told investigators that Jolie was involved with the deaths of Marcoux and Harnish. Jolie, who lived in Springfield at the time of the murders, was fingerprinted as an applicant for a taxicab license in 2000, and investigators were able to compare the fingerprint from the truck to Jolie's. Investigators determined that the fingerprint from the pickup truck originated from Jolie's left thumb.
Investigators also found that Jolie was a licensed gun owner in November 1978 and that he purchased a Colt handgun approximately 1 month before the murders. Jolie was officially arrested on October 30th and held without bond at Pinellas County Jail in Clearwater. He waived extradition before a circuit judge in Pinellas County, Florida, and will return to Massachusetts in the coming weeks to face charges. No motive for the murders has been found, according to Gallooni. This is pretty cool story, I think. I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm a pretty big fan of true crime podcasts and stories like that. And I kind of feel like we're one of those right now with this first story.
That's exactly what I was thinking. This definitely has true crime podcast vibes. I'm not a fan of the genre, though I am a fan of the show Only Murders in the Building, which is based on that premise. But yeah, it really is, to me, amazing how they're able to crack these cold cases. And you're seeing that more and more often as technology advances and really as networks that connect various bureaucracies really it kind of streamlines everything.
Yeah, and I find it so fascinating and mind-boggling that even from so many years ago that they can still, be able to trace fingertips and, blood spots from technology today and be able to, hopefully find closure for some of these families who were probably wondering for so many years about what happened, in the murder case.
Now, obviously, as you were saying, it's important for the families. Unfortunately, Marcous's parents passed away before this ever came to light, but there were members of her family that were at the press conference, so it's nice for the family, as you said, to get some of that closure. One of the things that I find interesting, and I'm sure will come out more when this comes to trial and everything, is someone just recently gave the DA's office information on this. Like, how did that source have this information? When did they get it? And had they had it for a while and they just came around to dispensing it, or what? Like, there are some circumstances here that I'm curious to know more about.
Yeah, I always wondered the same thing in stories like this or other stories. It seems like there's always one witness who has something that they withhold for so many years, and whether they speak up because it's becoming too much on their conscience, they're starting to feel a little guilty, or whether they're just trying to help out the families or help out the case finally so many years later. Who knows? But I'm sure Jolie, who was arrested down in Florida, probably thought he got away with it. Literally got away with murder, it seemed like, but not too fast.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear one of these stories coming to conclusion because, obviously the DA's office, he's said on multiple occasions that they don't forget these cases. They continue to work these cases. But so often when there's an announcement, we saw the announcement that there was going to be this press conference, a lot of times it's because, okay, we're asking again for people to come up with any information. Here's a little something extra we can give you that maybe will jog your memory. And so often it just, they're trying, but they're still just trying to shake the trees to see whatever falls out. Whereas in this case, it was nice to actually have a resolution to something.
Definitely.
For our next topic, according to an annual report from the Greater Boston Food Bank, 2023 saw 48% of people in Hampden County facing food insecurity. The same was true for 37% of Hampshire County residents. The Healy-Driscoll administration announced $1.01 million in grant funding administered by the Massachusetts Department of Agriculture. Those grants are being awarded to 7 Massachusetts food system enterprises in Hampden County. The recipients of the Food Security Infrastructure Grants will use the funding to help sustain Massachusetts food production and distribution and ensure all residents have access to fresh, healthy local food.
Some of the grant recipients in Chicopee include McKintry Market Garden, Fruit Fair Supermarket, and the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. The 4 Springfield organizations and businesses that received the grants are Rachel's Table of Western Massachusetts, Wellspring Harvest Corporation, United Way of Pioneer Valley, and La Arichabina Torres Family Farm. One of the recipients is the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. The organization directly distributes food to those in need while also providing food to 190 local food pantries and organizations across the 4 counties in Western Massachusetts. Executive Director Andrew Morehouse said they're providing more than 1 million meals a month.
Morehouse said that even though inflation has come down from a high of 9.1% in 2022 to 2.4% in September, the 12-month average of people visiting pantries is 117,000 people monthly, an all-time high. The month of May saw the highest use in the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts' 42-year history. Usage has been steadily increasing since the beginning of 2023. Food insecurity is something that's always been a topic that's top of mind this time of year. But then you look at some of these numbers, especially you're looking at what the highest usage in May in 42 years. It really accentuates that while it's great that there are initiatives that happen all the time during the holiday season, the need is perpetual. And so these organizations require support not only from the grant funding that they receive from the state, but also from the public constantly. It doesn't stop.
No, like you said, definitely there is an emphasis on this time of the year with the holidays coming up, having to pay for travel, pay for heat, pay for gifts, all those things like that. So maybe you don't have as much, to put into a grocery bill. But, with seeing the highest use in May, obviously not some big holiday season around that time. So this is all year, and it's tough, especially, I know Morehouse did mention inflation rates are kind of down in his eyes, but it still seems like the cost of living and other grocery items are going up, and it seems like also every day a new food item is getting recalled or something because of some bacteria. So it's definitely tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's great that inflation is going down, but the cost of housing isn't going down. I don't know how that factors in with inflation, how they calculate these kinds of things. People who are far more educated in terms of managing money. In full disclosure, I don't even balance my own checkbook. It's true that everything is going up. The cost of everything is going up. The pressures only mount, and especially once you fall behind. And I think that once you fall behind, it's hard to get yourself back to level. And I think that we're finding that across the board, basically since the coronavirus pandemic, we're still struggling to get back to level, whether that be in terms of our employment or education or what have you. Across the board we're struggling. So it's hard from the standpoint of we're asking people to help out with food insecurity, but when, especially in Western Massachusetts, in Hampden County specifically, almost half the people are struggling in this way. The pool of people who can help is also much smaller.
True.
And even those who aren't necessarily falling into that category of food insecure aren't necessarily in a position where they have a lot to give. So we're still in a very precarious place as far as this goes. So things like these grants are certainly going to be helpful for the community. And of course, if you want to learn more about the specific grants and what they're going to be used for by these different organizations, you can go to thereminder.com and read all about it. I think that we have a much larger problem that we're still digging out of, and it's difficult to do, especially when, like I said, those who are quote unquote stable don't necessarily have the extra.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a good point. I didn't even think about that, because like you said, the grants will definitely help, but especially if you're looking to host food drives, stuff like that, and you're looking for the public's help, those people might not have, much to offer as well. So it's definitely tough. For our third story, Paper City Fabrics owner and Holyoke-based fashion designer Joseph Charles collaborated with popular content creator Tori Calamito to create a sustainable custom gown for the movie premiere of Wicked on Saturday, November 9th in Los Angeles. Calamito is known for her 250,000 plus followers on multiple social media platforms as the Oz Vlog, where she voices her passion for the film while sharing memorabilia and other facts. For 27 years, Calamito has dedicated her time to collecting and preserving Oz memorabilia and researching the history of L. Frank Baum's work and the various films and other medias those works have inspired. She has had the opportunity to work with many brands, including Universal and Wicked the Musical.
The film, based on the long-running Broadway musical, functions as a prequel to the Wizard of Oz film and stars Ariana Grande as Glinda and Cynthia Erivo as Ethelba. Calamito is an official Oz historian who has garnered a devoted following on social media for her videos about the Wizard of Oz books, movies, collectibles, and fandom.
Charles said he follows Calamito, or the Oz Vlog, on TikTok and Instagram, and decided to reach out to her and offered to design her a dress for the movie premiere. The design for the dress included a pink off-the-shoulder gown with an intricate chevron overlay and detailed beading, which gives a nod to Glinda. The gown itself is also created entirely from secondhand fabric sourced by Paper City Fabrics, a thrift fabric store in Holyoke that sells previously purchased but never used fabric for just $4 a yard.
This isn't the first time that Holyoke has had a connection to Oz on the silver screen. The 1939 film was costumed by Adrian, a designer who frequently used silk manufactured by Skinner Silk in Holyoke in his costumes for MGM Studios. The movie will be released globally on November 22nd, and both Charles and Longmeadow shared their thoughts and excitement. And of course, you can read more about that in this week's edition of The Reminder or The Herald and on thereminder.com.
Yeah, this was something I was excited to cover and talk about with Charles and Longmeadow because, one, I'm very excited for the movie to come out. Me and my girlfriend have, full disclosure, we've already bought tickets to go Friday night, so we will be seeing the movie. But it is really cool because I also didn't know what an Oz historian was, but after looking at Longmeadow's work, she definitely loves the movie, and I learned a lot from looking at all her work. And it's always cool to see just a local designer design a dress that is seen for somebody with such a following and was able to go to the premiere.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this isn't the first connection to the world of Oz that Holyoke has.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting tie back to tie in with history.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've never seen the Broadway show. I'm not overly familiar with it, but I know that it's something that has been obviously you don't have that kind of run on Broadway and get this kind of cast and media outpouring for a film if it's not super popular and super well done. So I'm sure that it's going to be great, and I would be really interested to see what this dress for this event ends up looking like.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen the musicals since I was in 5th grade. That was our big New York City trip. So that makes it even more exciting because I really don't remember the whole premise of the movie, how it ends and stuff like that. So that's why it should be exciting. But yeah, no, the dress, after talking to Longmeadow, she said she loved the dress. It's been, she said the most stunning she's ever looked. So I can't wait to see the dress as well. And, hopefully everyone can check that out as well, like Chris said, on thereminder.com.
And, any movie that has Jeff Goldblum in it, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be a smash hit, right?
I agree 100%. He can do no wrong.
I also thought that it would be good to make note that Springfield and Western Massachusetts does have other connections to Hollywood. In addition to this, when I heard about this and I read this story, I thought immediately came to mind was Ruth Carter, who's a Springfield resident who has won Oscars for her costume design. I think that she was one of the ones who was involved in the costume design for Black Panther. So this area has a lot of talent in a lot of different areas, but design is certainly one of them. So I think that it's very cool that these people are getting notice.
Absolutely. And we will be right back after a few more short messages.
Every month, Reminder Publishing's Go Local magazine features the best Western Mass and Northern Connecticut businesses, with articles on new storefronts, coffee shops, restaurants, and more. Go Local magazine is your resource to find the best businesses to frequent in the area. Go Local also features original recipes, how-to pages on festive crafts, a listing of places to go, and experiences to enjoy over the course of the month, and so much more. Pick up Go Local magazine at hundreds of businesses, banks, gas stations, and restaurants all over Western Mass and Northern Connecticut. Or check out Go Local magazine at thereminder.com.
Since the founding of Reminder Publishing over 60 years ago, The Reminder has brought local businesses together with their customers through our advertising and coverage. Over the past 4 years, The Reminder has been adding to its reporting and expanding our readership, while other newspapers in the region, state, and country have scaled back or closed. We want local community journalism to thrive and grow, and are asking our readers and listeners to support and participate. The Reminder Press Club's mission is to ensure that local journalism is sustainable and leading healthy community discussions. The Reminder Press Club is a way for you to support the crucial work of professional reporters covering the vital stories in our community. Learn more about the Reminder Press Club or join at reminderpressclub.com.
And we're back. For our next topic, the East Longmeadow Town Council recently made a decision that could make the purchase of a future town hall more affordable. The Town Council voted at its November 12th meeting to use more than $836,000 in unused or reallocated ARPA funds and $500,000 in free cash toward the purchase of 382 North Main Street. The move would reduce the anticipated bonding for the transaction from $3.3 million to just under $2 million.
Town manager Tom Christensen explained that the new plan would save the town in interest over the life of the loan, and rental income from the building would cover the bond payment and the building's operating costs. 4 other municipal projects and purchases would be funded with free cash instead of ARPA funds as part of the plan. Those are the town's municipal light and power project, a police patrol vehicle, replacement windows at Birchland Park Middle School, and the landfill on Allen Street.
The town has been trying to purchase the 2-story building to replace its aging town hall on the Rotary since 2022, but state law prohibited a straightforward purchase. As a result, the property must be taken in what Town Council President Connor O'Shea recently described as a quote-unquote friendly eminent domain. The town already occupies a small space in the new building, and Christensen told Reminder Publishing that as the tenant leases expire, the town will begin relocating to the new building as needed. I don't know how familiar you are with East Longmeadow Town Hall. Most of your coverage has been outside of East Longmeadow.
Yes.
But it's the building, right at the Rotary, with the kind of looks like a church steeple, like a bell tower. And it's basically outgrown its usefulness. It's not super compliant. They've made it as compliant as they possibly can. But ever since I first started working here, there were issues with people not being able to access certain departments because their offices were on the second floor and you couldn't get to the second floor because they didn't have an elevator and things like that. So this has been a long-standing issue. And plus, as the government becomes more complex, I mean, granted, it's small town politics, but the town has more specified and more complex needs because the world is more complex.
Yes.
And that building just can't support it anymore. So they've been working on purchasing this other building, which was, I believe, a Westfield Bank office building that is located right across from Heritage Park. So it's still super accessible for people. It's not far flung. But they've had all these issues with basically state law won't let the town just purchase the building from the owner. They have to take the building. And so it's been this elongated process. But in the meantime, I guess the one good thing is they've been able to realize, hey, here's a way that we can work the numbers so that we end up with a little bit of savings. Obviously, you have to allocate the ARPA funding by the end of the year or basically it goes away. So they've decided that, hey, this is how we're going to use this funding and ultimately save the town money on the, in the long term.
Yeah, that was my first thought. Is I'm sure the taxpayers are going to be happy if there was one silver lining from this, long process that you just laid out. But, especially with the ARPA funds, like you said, having to be allocated by the end of this year, which is crazy to think because I remember covering so many ARPA stories of funding and they always said they had to be used by, December 2024. And I thought, well, that's plenty of time. And, here we are already pretty much creeping up on that. But yeah, no, this is definitely a long process, especially reading through it. I've probably passed that building a dozen times, and I didn't even know it was a town hall until right in this moment. So, hopefully this move goes well for them, and they're able to kind of get into a new building. That seems like it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Now, Christian did explain, because it does sound when you're talking about it, because they're taking ARPA money that was identified for other projects and then putting it towards this, and then they're using free cash for those things like the new windows for the school and the new police cruiser, etc. It kind of, when you hear it, it kind of feels like a shell game. There are more specifics on why in our story on thereminder.com and in this week's edition of the East Longmeadow Reminder. But it's a little bit convoluted, so it doesn't really translate to the podcast. But when you actually hear it out, it makes sense. And it doesn't sound quite so much like the shell game that it sounds like. It's like, well, it's money one way or the other, so what are we doing? But a lot of it has to do with we got to use these funds now, and there are also issues with the amount of reserves that you have in your bonding rating and things like that. So, so there's some more complexity to it than is being presented here, but when you read it all out, it makes a lot of sense.
I'm sure, yeah, because I know, I haven't seen the financial specifics of this project, but I know in other projects, like you mentioned, especially when they host like a town meeting and they're trying to go over budgets and stuff, and you always see that they're moving money from one project to another, and you're saying, well, is that project still going to happen? Well, yes, usually they just kind of might allocate more money over budget just in case it does, come in under budget, and you can allocate it somewhere else, like for this project exactly. So, I'm actually interested to look at that as well and see where all the cash is, kind of coming from and stuff like that.
All right. And for our final story, the Red Thread Network will host its Yule Tree Jubilee at the West Springfield Library from November 29th to December 9th. The Red Thread Network is an organization that supports the arts and artists in town, and that includes the children's art classes offered by the West Springfield Park and Recreation Department. And the Tree Festival here is its major fundraiser. It's free and open to the public and will feature 23 trees that have been donated and decorated by local businesses, nonprofits, and the mayor's family. The trees will be raffled off, and each sheet of 25 tickets costs $10.
This year, for the first time, the event will offer door prizes each day and demonstration workshops. For example, on Wednesday night, the Garden Club will demonstrate a small candle holder centerpiece with natural materials. And Tuesday night, Barrientos will make a small macrame ornament with a cinnamon stick to put on your tree. For more information, go to redthreadnetworkforthearts.org. Yeah,
you see a lot of these pop up this time of year, the tree spectaculars. It's always fun to just go around and see all the trees. And hey, if you enter and win, you don't even have to worry about decorating a Christmas tree this year. You just bring one home.
Exactly. I haven't seen these trees, but I know me and Dennis walk into the Westfield office. You might have seen, I don't know if it was up when you were just there recently, but every day walking into the Westfield office, they do have their own tree jubilee coming up, and all these trees are decorated with different things. There's a mini one made of mini squishmallows and stuff like this. So it's not just your traditional Christmas trees as well. So it definitely gets you into the mood, into the holiday spirit with December quickly approaching and Christmas time. So it would be really cool, like you said, to potentially win one of these trees and be able to put it up or in either replacement or as another Christmas tree in the house.
Yeah, speaking to the one in Westfield, I was in the Westfield office when they were setting up for that, and it included one that the woman was making a Christmas tree out of balloons.
Yep.
So they can get really creative. So, there are certainly a lot of these that go on this time of year. You can see a lot of them on social media. We've been writing about several of them that are popping up. And the good thing is with all of these, they're supporting good causes. For this one, especially in West Springfield, the arts are usually one of the things that gets cut out of budgets first. So any support that it can get from outside sources, like donations or like events like this, is great. I mean, the fact that this supports children's art classes alone, to me, is bridging an important gap. Especially kids spend so much time these days in these high-pressure environments in school, though maybe a little less high pressure now that the MCAS question has passed, but that's a topic for a different day. So to have an outlet like art is certainly a positive and something that I'd love to see more of.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and not only just with where the funding is going, but the fundraiser itself. I mean, it says that 23 trees are donated and decorated by local businesses, nonprofits, and the mayor's family. I'm sure that was so fun for them to be able to brainstorm and put together the tree. Obviously a lot of these nonprofits and local businesses, I don't know them exactly, but I'm sure some of them deal with tough stuff on a day in, day out basis. So I'm sure it was probably nice to bring a smile to a lot of the workers' face to be able to decorate a tree and know that this tree will get won by somebody to make that family happy, and all the funds will make other kids happy as well. So it's definitely a win-win-win for everybody.
All right, and that will wrap up this week's episode of So That Reminds Me.
We will see you again in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening to So That Reminds Me, produced by Western Massachusetts news source Reminder Publishing. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, find the latest news at thereminder.com, and follow Reminder Publishing on Instagram at Reminder Publishing, on X at The Reminder MA, and on Facebook. Reminder Publishing, we are hometown news.